Okay, so yeah, we were talking about aesthetic, and so basically, if you look at wound right over here versus that wound right there, that white, this was with suture, this one wasn't suture. So sometimes aesthetic is not really the same either. So, but this one already was deeper as well. And, yeah, so this would be the main difference between primary and secondary. But that you choose either primary or secondary, don't forget that the main point that I want to bring is that if you're going to choose this combination comes with responsibility. And it kind of always blows my mind that nobody, so imagine that you have someone that comes out of a store with a fire rod, put that in his back, and he's about to go in the outdoors and say, hey, no, I just saw some YouTube videos and I know what to do. I saw them and I just bought the kit. It's even in the plastic things. But some people, they seem to do it with that. They watch a few YouTube videos or they read it, and next thing you know, they have a suture kit in their first aid kit, because you need to have one of those, right? And they never sutured, they never practiced, they saw stuff, maybe they did practice a few times and stuff, but those things, it's as risky as the person that just put the fire rod and one in the outdoors. Knowledge and experience are two different things. That you know how to use this thing doesn't mean that you'll be able to use it in all situations. Same thing with this. It's maybe no complication by using those things, but you may have. There's a lot of complication that you can have with this. You need to recognize the proper wounds, the things that it's going to take that, the complication that can go with that. So if you're going to put this in your first aid kit, and if you're going to use this, I'm not saying not to use it. I mean, tons of people do use it, and we'll see. But if you do going to use that, use it with the responsibility and the respect that it deserves. Because it's not just putting two skins together. It's not. There's more to it. Because if you close the wrong way, then you're going to create like a space, and your skin can collapse. You can trap infection into it that was going to make it grow a little bit even worse. So it's like we were talking about anaerobic bacteria. So it's not as simple as just like doing Rambo styles and closing the wounds and everything. Some people say, well, I did that in the past and no complication will happen. Yeah, but you can put a bullet in one gun, throw it, do the Russian roulette, and it doesn't mean that you're going to get killed for the shot, but there's still a bullet in a gun that you put in your head. So that doesn't prove anything that you didn't have things, but the complications are there, the risks are there, and especially if you're done with a non-healthcare professional or a person that was not trained in a proper use for this. For example, in the army, they extended to like their medics and things like this, because they're in the field, they're the ones going to do those things. So some of those people are trained in the use of those things, but they know when to use it, how to use it, and the proper skills that comes with it. And so that's why my point is that if you're going to use it, sure, go ahead, but then get trained for it. If not just something that you throw in your bag. If you feel like that's way too much reading or work to stay with it, then that's why the dressings are much easier. Not mean as you don't need to learn anything either, but it's a little bit easier for a non-healthcare professional that doesn't do it on a regular basis to manage wounds with those things without as much risk as first closure. And again, this is my opinion, not supported by any research or anything, but because there's not much research in the wilderness medicine that went head-to-head. So a wound in the field, would it be better to do secondary closure or first closure? Why? Because most people are medically trained, so doctors, which then they train paramedics, which are kind of a derivative of doctors, because it comes from the 70s when they were really from the Vietnam Wars and everything. So there was doctors that taught other people to do other stuff. But their training will be more to here doing the closure. Does that mean that that technique is the most appropriate? Maybe not, but it's not been studied. My point is that I think for non-people that doesn't do that things all the time, dressings that they can find pretty much anywhere without as much training as the stuff can do, way much less damage, and yet arrive to pretty much about the same conclusion. Your wound will be closed, will be healed without any complication. So that means no infection. That's pretty much what we want, right? We want the skin to close to get a pretty decent stability behind it, and without getting sick and not needing any antibiotics. That's all we want, right? So that's the point. So a little bit on irrigation. So irrigation is all about PSI. So pressure support, pressure square inch, and basically this is the ultimate setup that you want. So it's 20 cc's syringe with a little cap, and this basically how it works is that this, you see, like if I put it on my skin, it covers it, and so what happens is that the water doesn't splash everywhere and splash everyone. So, and this is a 18 gauge setup, so that's pretty much the right amount of pressure that you'll have. So I'll show you a little bit here. So you see, when you can kind of hear it, that's pretty much like the pressure you want, because it's a little bit like Goldilocks. Too much, you will remove good cells that you need to heal the wound, and you'll create probably an inflammation process, which you don't want to, because you'll go from an acute wound to a chronic wound. And not enough, you want to take off the bad stuff. Do you need to put products in it? We already had this discussion, but no, you don't need to put a lot. In 98 or even 99% of the time, you do not need to put products in your wound in the acute phase. And the chronic phase, that's a different thing, and this is we'll leave it for the healthcare professionals and academic that fights over it over and over. But for acute wounds, you don't need to put anything in it. Maybe if it's very, 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 very dirty, maybe a little bit of product. But even that, it would be just irrigation would be quite sufficient. But like I was saying, is that basically it's all about the pressure. So if you see, there's a different syringe, obviously, and as you can see here, this one drips and the other one kind of push. Well, if I would push this and try to clean my wounds with it, wouldn't be very suspicious. And actually, even just see like the difference versus this versus, see how jet is like more stronger. So even just the syringe himself is not much. So you want something at the other hand to redirect this. Those things are pretty not very expensive, very easy to carry, and so that's why I carried my first aid. So this is my setup in my first aid kit. So what if you're going in the outdoors and stuff like this? You can still improvise. So cleaning is better, even if you don't have the ultimate kit. Cleaning is better than nothing. And a quick way that you can do it is just with a Ziploc bag. And actually you can even do a better hole than I did here, but just to show you the concept. So basically just go in the corner, you can use like a safety pin or something, do a hole in it, and basically just irrigate. And it's, again, pressure. So what you want to do is pressure. So just this is not cleaning anything. You're not cleaning any wound with this. Rubbing, you're going to create more inflammation. So what you want is just water that's going to kind of push it. Yeah, I have special effects now in my videos. So yeah, you just want sufficient pressure to kind of push the stuff. So that was for irrigation. So when you have like any wounds, the first thing you want to do is control the bleeding. Different ways of control the bleeding, better pressure control. Some people will use products, and through products that are mainly people knows is QuikClot. So if you ever seen what a QuikClot is, this is what the QuikClot is. The reason I don't like this is that, for example, if I have a bleed that is the size of my hand, this part is not controlling. There's no way I can kind of spread this or something like this. So that's why I went with the Celox product, because obviously it's like a little gauze, so I can spread it out and stuff. I can shove it up and things like this. And as well as this one has a multiple purpose. It's good for first and secondary burn as well. It has a little gel that kind of creates. And so if I'm going to carry a product, I might as well carry a product that has multiple use to it. So control the bleeding. You don't always use that product, but direct pressure, irrigation. And when we talk irrigation, we're not talking about 1 or 2 syringe. We're talking about almost a liter of fluid if it's very dirty. And we're talking like a lot of stuff until the wound looks pretty nice. Then after that, you can start thinking about your secondary or your primary closure. And if you're going to start about primary closure, there's different product out there. I'll talk to the ones that not that I use, because again, I'm more a secondary person. But I do carry one product, and I'll tell you why I carry this one. But Dermavon. So basically it's a little glue that you can do. This one you can only use it if your edge are very, they're like this basically. So a nice laceration, not a cut. So laceration is when it's kind of straight up. Because if your edge looks like, like just like this, then this is no use. So it has to be like a very straight thing. The famous, can I use super glue? Yes and no, depending of call your poison control and have a talk with them about what's the danger of super glue if you're going to carry super glue in your kit versus this. The other disadvantage of this is that it's a little vial that basically you break in, and if you carry this in your kit, what happens is that the vial can get activated without you knowing, because basically it's pretty easy to crush. Another thing common that you find, and on those ones, quality becomes important, but basically Steri-Strip, and basically all the Steri-Strip does. So those two kind of does the same thing, and actually can be used like together. But basically all this does is that it brings the edge back together like this. Basically will bring the edge off. But as you can see, if for example my skin is very spread or there's a lot of pressure and my skin cannot be brought together like this without pressure, those things won't hold. So you have to have the proper wounds to use these things. They can be used like, for some wounds and stuff. But again, when you start using this in the outdoors and stuff with a lot of water and things like that, it won't stay very well. I don't think so. So I carry some of them, but I don't really have intention to really use them. The famous suture, again, I think we talk about it much, and there's a lot more videos, and if you're interested on that and stuff, and a lot of books as well. You can even buy kits, and if you look at medical schools and stuff and how to practice that stuff. But I don't use this. What I use is this. And so those two things is called a staple gun. And again, I won't show, but if you Google staple gun, like medical staple guns, there's some YouTube videos and stuff that'll show you how to do it. It's basically like a staple. The reason I carry this one versus this one can be used, this one is like, for example, if I fall down and I rip almost my scalp out, there's a lot of little capillaries that goes in your head. That's why we lose a lot of heat through towards our heads, because of all the blood that goes in there. Well, this, I'll be able to close it quickly, and so I can continue and stuff. So that's the reason I carry those ones. So that's it. We'll talk to you soon.